Welcome back, Irish fans, to Breaking Out Braves Boys podcast. Notre Dame pulls off another big win against the Blue Blood, and the Irish's tournament hopes are alive and well. Big win for Notre Dame, welcoming UNC to their house, and they took care of business without the students in town. Huge win for Mike Brey, huge win for Notre Dame, and I'm going to dive into the whole thing here, so be able to stick around for the whole show. Be sure to subscribe for more Notre Dame men's basketball content and post-game shows specifically. This one just felt like a traditional Mike Brey win, just a boat race to the finish. You think they're going to blow it, and this team overcomes a couple nice runs from UNC and makes things happen towards the end. Big win for Notre Dame. At times, you could tell that this was a veteran group, and that's a great thing for Notre Dame. We haven't seen that a whole lot. Saw it against Kentucky, saw it against Pitt late in the game. You can tell these are vets. Cormac Ryan taking charges towards the end of the game. Prentiss Hubb drawing that foul, Dane Goodwin hitting the big free throws at the end. Just a really nice win for Notre Dame and something they can really build on in the future. Notre Dame has one quad one win with Kentucky, and North Carolina was 35th in the net this morning. That's probably going to drop to the 40s, but with a down ACC, they can certainly get back into the top 30, and that could give Notre Dame two quad one wins. And then you beat, let's say you beat Georgia Tech and Clemson. So Notre Dame's won 4 in a row now, 5 of their last 6. Let's say you beat Georgia Tech and Clemson, which are both pretty sizable games. Notre Dame they have a really good tournament resume. I wouldn't say they're a lock at that point, but they're certainly on the bubble at least. And 2 wins like that is something they haven't had in past years, which I think is why this is big. Like, UNC isn't all that great. They certainly have their flaws. Didn't have Dawson Garcia tonight, who's a big contributor for them. Kerwin Walton's one of their best shooters, and that certainly hurt them not having him. But I think Notre Dame would have won this game probably regardless. Dawson Garcia certainly could have helped them on the defensive end, defending on the swishes, but Notre Dame did a really good job offensively. Like I tweeted, the offense was just beautiful most of the night. It was especially good when Nate Laszewski was in and Prentiss Hubb wasn't jacking threes like he did at some points, but overall, just big win for Notre Dame. Like I said, a traditional Mike Brey win. Those are mostly like the broad points. Notre Dame's offense is the main takeaway from this game. And another big one is Blake Wesley's aggressiveness. I said throughout the game that it's kind of a blessing and a curse. Like, Notre Dame hasn't really had a guy that aggressive in the past few years who can attack downhill and will try to finish at the rim or just about anybody. You saw him go with an up and under early, or I think it was like early in the second half. And then he had that breakaway dunk that resulted from an aggressive defensive play, but then also forced a few shots, forced a few drives. You take the good and the bad with Blake Wesley, considering the lack of shot creators you have other than him. This was I think it was a solid performance by Blake Wesley. Had some scouts in there, was forcing a little bit, but he's got to be Superman for Notre Dame to win these type of games, and he was for a while. I think he had 18, something along those lines. 18. I said he had 20 because ESPN said that at some point, and he never actually got to 20. So if you see a post from me saying he had 20, he did not. But like I said, the main thing with him was just being aggressive. He took a bunch of shots tonight. I think he had – what did he take? He ended with 18 shots, 8 for 18. Didn't shoot the 3 super well. I think the narrative around this game for Blake Wesley is going to be slightly shifted because he didn't hit some open looks from 3, and that's fine. They won this game. There's going to be no, like, horrible narrative out there about Blake Wesley from tonight, and it should be that way. He was a big catalyst for Notre Dame in the first half and really kind of helped them along through some of the struggles they had offensively. The offense is so different when Blake isn't in the game, and that was pretty evident tonight, even when he was forcing it and wasn't playing all that well at times. Dane Goodwin chipped in with 17 tonight, 7 for 11. Had Leaky Black on him, so I would have been perfectly fine if he didn't have a great offensive night. But 17 points from him, 2 clutch free throws, and he didn't even hit a 3. Just kind of shows how good of an open shooter Dane Goodwin is. Missed a few big ones at the end of the first half that I thought would come back to bite him. But overall, just had a solid game. Wasn't a huge liability defensively, which is great to see. Made shots, and that's all you need Dane Goodwin to do. You don't even need a 17-point performance from him every night if guys like Cormac Ryan emerge Nate Laszewski emerged, but big performance from Dane Goodwin tonight. Maybe one that doesn't get talked about a whole lot, but he was awesome tonight considering who was on him and the level of athletes that were guarding him, even though they did fall asleep at some points, like UNC's defense tended to do tonight. I actually thought UNC was not that horrible tonight. Defensively, they were pretty bad, but a lot of the time this year when they've gone down, they've kind of curled up in a ball and kind of just let it happen to them. They've kind of just become disengaged, but obviously they were disengaged at some points tonight, it looked like. But they did fight back a few times, and credit to them, they gave Notre Dame a little bit of trouble towards the end, cut it to 1 at one point. But that's where you got to give credit to Notre Dame for not caving in there. Throughout last season, we saw over and over again that they would do that. And they didn't even really use their safety blanket tonight, Paul Atkinson, and they still were able to overcome runs. That's a huge, good sign for them. Just guard play and Nate Laszewski that really did the trick. Nate Laszewski had 20 points, 7 for 11 from the field, and Nate Laszewski is officially the new UNC killer. He was a guy UNC recruited, and Notre Dame got over him. And he's really punished Roy Williams for not landing him and Hubert Davis. 20 points tonight, 6 for 7 from 3. 6 for 7 from 3 is absurd. Just reminds you how good of a catch-and-shoot guy Nate Laszewski is and how much of a contributor he can be against the right matchup. UNC definitely didn't have the I don't want to say this, the mobility on the perimeter with their big guys to stay with Nate and really get out and contest his shots. He wasn't great defensively against Armando Bacot. You shouldn't expect him to be. Armando Bacot's just a beast. He had like 24 and 15 or something along those lines, 21 and 15, 21-17. But I thought that was a good idea. The offense wasn't flowing at all with Paul Atkinson. I've been a proponent of this pretty much all year. Thought they should have done this more against Illinois, but take your lumps with a guy like Kofi or a guy like Bacot and kind of just ride Nate. Just abuse those guys on the perimeter and try to make something happen. Put Nate at the 5 if you see how much better the offense flowed. When Atkinson was in the game, the offense wasn't flowing at all. And I don't think that's a huge detriment to Atkinson. I thought he worked on trying to become part of that group that would flow at the end of games in the offseason with his three-point shot, and as evidenced by that 3 he missed today badly, that didn't really work. So I thought he could have added that element to his game, and that would have been huge if he could, but just hasn't to this point and has struggled with physicality at times. Tonight he certainly did. But I thought he can hold up against like a Race Thompson, Trace Jackson Davis type physical big. Or Armando Bacot type guy, they have nobody who can kind of stay with him. And hopefully Atkinson's okay. I saw he went down at the end of the game. But if Atkinson's not good, that's a loss. Contrary to what you saw tonight offensively, they're going to need him at times. He's their safety blanket. He's the guy that can go down and get a bucket for you when you're or the other team's on an 11-0 run and you can't score and you can't get into an offensive rhythm. Paul Atkinson is the guy that's going to help you get out of that, and they're going to need him. So Paul Atkinson was not necessary tonight. That's not too much of a detriment to him. It's just how the game worked out and what the matchup called for. But they're going to need him in the future, and if he's hurt, that's a big detriment to them. Prentiss Hubb didn't do a whole lot in the first, couldn't really guard R.J. Davis, wasn't all that great tonight. Missed a few kind of forced shots towards the end, but did a nice job drawing that foul at the end and kicking it out to, I think, Nate towards the end of the game for a wide-open look from 3 that he knocked down. So you take the good and the bad with Prentiss Hubb. It's not as extreme ups as it is with Blake Wesley, but Prentiss has shown us what he can do over the years, and I think tonight was an example of that, the ups and the downs. And he came through when it mattered. I think an underrated part about Prentiss Hubb is that he's kind of built for these type of games, the boat races where it's going up and down, jacking threes. If Trey Wertz had it tonight, I would 100% have been in favor of putting Trey Wertz on the floor. Having more length and more defense on the floor is always a positive for me, especially when Hubb's not really going. But Prentiss was okay tonight, and obviously caught a lot of flack from the fan base earlier in the year. And tonight, he didn't play all that well tonight, but made some plays towards the end that kind of helped Notre Dame, but also made some that hurt him. Cormac Ryan, I can't believe I haven't talked about him. Just love what Cormac Ryan brings to Notre Dame. Had it early, hit a few big shots, hit some free throws late, took 2 charges, and then made that play where he stripped Caleb Love late in the game. His impact will never be recognized, kind of like Rex Pfluger. Cormac Ryan is Rex Pfluger 2.0, but I think he's more talented offensively. He hasn't shown that yet. I think if he comes back next year, maybe you'll see that a little more. But for now, this is the guy Cormac Ryan is. And if he can do this every night while other guys are getting theirs offensively, perfect. That's what you need from Cormac Ryan. And if he can develop into more than that as the season goes on like he did last year, perfect. I think Cormac Ryan just can't have those games where he can't hit shots and doesn't make plays defensively. He does all the little things right pretty much every game, but today he did the big things, and that's what I've been asking for from him all year. So great game by Cormac Ryan, one of the underrated catalysts of Notre Dame's win tonight. Trey Wertz didn't have it tonight. I think Trey Wertz would be in his best interest to come back next year, try to finish it out on the right note. He's kind of just got – last year I thought he didn't fit well because he transferred. This year he doesn't fit because of the emergence of Blake Wesley. There's so many guards trying to get theirs, and Trey Wertz is the guy that's got lost in the shuffle. He's really talented. He's a really good guy and does a lot of things well, just hasn't hit shots at the clip that he's hit him in the past years. Gosh, I couldn't talk there, but he hasn't hit shots like he could in past years so far. Had 6 assists tonight, which was huge. Prentiss Hubb had 6. Trey had 4. Prentiss had 6. Dane had 1. Blake had 4. Didn't have Eddie in the first half, I don't think. But his playmaking is coming along. Like I said, I thought he forced it a little much tonight. He's going to have to slow down a little bit to get more on NBA scouts' radar. That's why I think you can take a Jaden Ivey type lead next year. Jaden Ivey kind of had the same issues as Blake Wesley does now, and got him under control. Obviously, in the Wisconsin game, Ivey didn't do all that well with that kind of stuff, but I think generally he's got a lot better at that, and I think Blake can do the same thing. I've talked about everybody on the team and everything that I really wanted to hit on this game, but last thing, I think this is a bigger win than people will give it credit for. Obviously, beating the brand of UNC and everything is huge, like Bray talked about, but in terms of a tournament resume, like I said, you got a stretch of every game you could win in the next few weeks. None of these teams are unbeatable. The only team in the league I don't think Notre Dame could beat is Duke. UNC is probably the second best team in the league, and Notre Dame just beat them while allowing Armando Bacot to really get going. So Notre Dame could beat pretty much any team in this league outside of Duke, and they're going to have the opportunity to do that. They're going to have to beat teams in their wheelhouse over the next few weeks, but as of now, Notre Dame's tournament hopes are alive and well. They're gonna need to close out on some games that they should, but their resume looks really good if they can do that. And if they win 12 or 13 games in the league, and Miami wins 12 or 13 games in the league, NC State, Virginia Tech, Notre Dame has better wins than all of them, assuming that none of them beat UNC over the course of the year. But this was a bigger win than people will realize. And if you look back on this game in March, when it's bubble time, if Notre Dame can pull out some wins, anything can happen. Notre Dame's going to have the edge above those teams, which I think is huge tonight. Notre Dame's going to get the edge above those teams because they have big wins. They haven't had that in past years. They wouldn't have had that the year Moody and Gibbs and Rex graduated when they were kind of on the bubble. If they won that many games this year, with these 2 wins on their resume, they probably would at least be in the first 4 out. So huge win for Notre Dame, statement game for them. Even without the students there, Notre Dame find a way to pull it out, and I'll be at the game on Saturday against Georgia Tech. Notre Dame's won the last 3 games I'm at. Big statistic there. So let's hope for a 4th in a row, and Notre Dame is in a good spot if they win that game heading into Clemson. So thank you guys for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more Notre Dame men's basketball content. Really enjoyed tonight's game. Probably the most fun I've had watching them all year. And let's hope for more games like that are enjoyable rather than games where you're ripping your hair out. But big one for Notre Dame tonight, and excited about the future of this team. I couldn't have told you that after the BC game. I don't even think I was overreacting after that game. That was a horrible loss, but they canceled it out with Kentucky, and now they got to step up on it with this game. So big one. for Notre Dame, and heading into ACC play, Notre Dame's tournament hopes are alive and well. Notre Dame's 2-1 in the league and 8-5 in total with some games against really beatable teams coming up. So thank you guys for watching. Go Irish. Leave a comment if you enjoyed. And thank you guys again for watching. Everybody have a happy new year. And